All right, good morning. Thanks everybody for being here. Before we get started, I just want to read a little disclaimer. This webinar is provided for general information purposes only and does not constitute legal or professional advice on behalf of the panelists or the Fortuna Chamber of Commerce. We encourage anyone watching to obtain proper legal or other professional advice unique to your situation before acting on any of the information presented today. All right, so with that, I see we have Jessica Hindley connecting, which is great. Do you guys want to go around and introduce yourselves to everybody in case they don't know you? Chris, we can start with you. Oh, is Chris frozen? There he is. Chris Broadstock.
I'm Chris Broadstock. I'm the manager at Tri-County Bank in Fortuna.
Thank you. Hello, Mandy Marquez. Oh.
Good morning, I'm Mandy Marquez, Senior Commercial Lending Officer for Coast Central Credit Union.
Awesome. Kelly Isaacson, Umpqua Bank.
Yes.
Is she frozen? I think you're frozen.
Kelly Isaacson, Umpqua Bank store manager here in Fortuna.
Oh, you gotta love cell service in the rain when it rains in Fortuna. Okay, and then from Redwood Capital Bank, we have Bob Judevine. Hi, Bob. And then we have Jennifer Budwig. All the way
Hey, good
from
morning, everybody. I'm Bob Judevine.
And then we have Jennifer all the way from space. And and then we have, let's see, I'm going to see if we can get Jessica to come on with her video. Okay, so while we're waiting for that to happen, we'll get started with some of our questions. Just to let everybody know, there is a chat box down at the bottom. If you would like to put in a question for the panelists, please do that at any point during the meeting. If you would like to ask a question, there is a raise your hand feature. So feel free to do that if you would like to speak your question at the end. Okay, so the first question I have for you all is related to the PPP program. I think that's the thing that's on everybody's minds these days. Going around the horn, Chris, if you want to start us off and just kind of give us an update from your bank related to that program, maybe how many applications you've been able to fill, and just maybe just a general update on the program.
Yeah, I have numbers for bank-wide across our California footprint. As everybody felt, the second round was a little more efficient, a little more successful than the first round of funding. As of May 3rd, Tri-County's bank has gotten $404 million in funding, which equates to 39,600 jobs. And that's across our California footprint. Later on down the road, I hope to get county by county, really see where our local influence is. We're really happy to participate in the program. You know, like I was telling earlier, it's an exciting time to be in banking. It's one of those opportunities where we at the ground level get to directly deliver federal aid to our customers, helping them get over the hump and act as that intermediary. We've been able to assist every customer that has since applied. We've worked together to create intake teams that work closely with our SBA department, and that way we've worked out an efficient process where the customer is guided through each step from applying, gathering documentation, and then getting approval. So across the bank wide, it really came together and put together a couple of really highly efficient, long hour employee groups that had a great time reaching out to the customer.
Great. Mandy? Same question.
Good morning. So Same question. So as most of the community knew, Coast Central Credit Union was not originally a PLP lender. So we were required to go and seek delegated authority through the SBA to issue the PPP loans, which we were hopeful and excited the entire time to do that. There was about a 2-week delay in the SBA actually approving any of these delegated authority institutions, well, for most of them. When we finally got in, we had 24 hours to issue our round of funding before the first round ran out. We've since kept the packages going through that period and have funded over 250 applications in all of our markets, and it's equated to close to $18 million in local funding, which is pretty proud considering the time frame in which we've been able to deliver those funds. Most of our funding is, we still have quite a few in the pipeline, to be honest with you, and are coming in every single day and still actively working those. So, and as most we're probably going to talk about on the call here, is a ever-changing guidances from SBA that is making us continue to challenge and look back and make improvements as we go forward. But to be honest, I couldn't be more proud of the collective numbers that this group is going to roll out today in support of much-needed capital for our community. So, you know, cheers to all the panelists on the call today, because this has not been an easy road the last 6 weeks of instituting this program for any of us, and the staff have just went above and beyond in all of the institutions to make this happen for the community. So, you know, cheers to all my fellow bankers on the call today, because it's been a whirlwind.
Absolutely. Okay, Kelly, you're next.
Yes. So with the bank, the latest numbers that I received, we had over $2 billion in approved monies. That's the whole footprint of Umpqua Bank. It was over 13,367 applicants. Let's see, we did, I think it was just under 2.5 million in Fortuna location alone. To give an idea of with the SBA loans, we did more at the bank in 4 to 5 weeks with SBA loans than in comparison to the last 14 years. So quite a bit more. And it's an amazing time to work for the bank in regards to just seeing people work around the clock. You know, we're considered not a small bank, but not a large bank. We're mid-sized. So the second round, I believe, our application process with inputting for the SBA loans was we're only allowed to submit during night hours. So I think it was 8 p.m. to, early morning hours. So people working around the clock doing a normal job here, but then, off hours inputting and just trying to get people processed. So that's what I have.
Great. Bob?
Hey, good morning, everybody. So John Dalby and our board, when this program was announced, saw it as an opportunity for Redwood Capital Bank to shine as a community bank, and really went all in. So similar to other banks on the call, we hit this like a rocket out of the gate, and just stayed very busy, worked the weekends and the late hours to get as many of our customers that wanted PPP assistance loans as we could. So frequently that was a 4 or 5 day turnaround. And is, to the best of my knowledge, except for 1 or 2 that just didn't qualify at all, we were able to satisfy every single customer that asked us for a PPP loan. So we're really proud of that. Numbers, Jennifer probably has more accurate numbers than I do, because I've been very focused on Fortuna. I hit 130 loans here in Fortuna yesterday, and they keep coming in. And I think bank-wide here in Humboldt County, we're over 550 and right around $70 million in funding. So that's definitely been a bit of a wild ride, right? That's a volume we don't see month to month, year to year very often. We Redwood Capital Bank is is a preferred lender for the SBA. So we do a lot of 7A and 504 loans, but this has been interesting. And I share admiration for the work that's happening in banks across Humboldt County, right? Every banker on the call has got tellers out there working very hard under difficult circumstances. The shelter in home hasn't really slowed down the banking world much, right? So, and I think some of us will talk about hours in that later. But anyway, it's been an interesting time, and I'm looking forward to it not being an interesting time. Getting back to work sometime soon.
Jennifer, do you want to add anything? Just take yourself off mute.
There we go. Yeah, I think Bob kind of hit on the high points, but I definitely want to echo his and Mandy's sentiments in regards to this has just been a total wild ride, and I think every banker on this call can attest to that. We truly were creating the wheel through this process and doing it with SBA, and as a lot of you are aware that we've gotten minimal guidance from SBA, and I don't necessarily fault them because they were dealt a pretty difficult situation as it was mandated to them to roll this program out in an incredibly short period of time. So it's been a challenging situation to try to comply with what their requirements are with a lot of uncertainty and very minimal guidance. And I think one of the burning questions, and I know that this is going to be part of the conversation we're going to have, is in regards to, now we've been making all of these loans, and then the businesses are asking the question, well, what about the debt forgiveness part of it? And I feel like right now that's the $1 million question. And I know that we're going to get into that a little bit more, but I think that that's a frustration across the board. Lenders across the nation right now, businesses across the nation right now, waiting for that guidance that everyone expected it to be out by now. And unfortunately it has not. I'm hoping that they're diligently working on it, but every week, like our contact with SBA, every week she keeps coming out and saying, I really think it's going to be next week. And pretty soon she's like, I don't even want to say that anymore because I don't know when it's coming out. And so that's by far been the most challenging thing, because I think businesses are continually trying to figure out, their every single day, what their staffing should be and could be. Are they going to meet the requirements for debt service? How difficult or for debt forgiveness? How difficult is it going to be to get the debt forgiveness and so forth? And so, but again, I know that's going to be part of the bigger conversation we're going to have, but I just want to give a shout out to all the bankers, because it has been pretty grueling. I know people put in tons of hours, and anything that we've been able to bring into this community is amazing and awesome. And it goes with the diligent efforts of everyone on this panel. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. Okay, and Jessica Hindley from US Bank. Are you there, Jessica?
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you hear me
yes.
okay?
Yes, good morning.
Hi. Sorry, I've been having some technical difficulties this morning.
we can't see you, but we can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm on my cell phone. Well, I just wanted to get started by, I'm glad I'm a part of this process with the PPP. Although we have had to overcome some hurdles, we were able to get about 145 approved applications within Humboldt County. And we're looking at right about now about 7 million just in this county. Because we're a national bank, it's really hard to get a lot of figures. So I've been doing a manual process. So that could actually be increased of, people that just applied online and didn't need my assistance. So it's really just going off that basis. Like Jennifer said, the forgiveness piece is really on board at this point with our customers, being able to provide that guidance. Hopefully we'll be able to provide more as we go along here, and more specifics to each lender and to our businesses in Humboldt County.
Great, thank you. So I have to think about which question I want to ask next. So loan forgiveness, yeah, that's obviously the big one. I know there is a push in the House to extend the loan forgiveness period through, I think, December 31st of this year. That's, of course, just a bill that is coming in from one side, hasn't been voted on. And a lot of, I think, the frustration that our small businesses are having is being able to ramp back up to full-time because of two main issues. One, they're either prohibited because of statewide restrictions. So for instance, restaurants that can't have in-store or dining in services, they don't need a full staff to do takeout and delivery. And also a lot of employees, well, I shouldn't say a lot, a few employers have expressed an issue with employees not wanting to return to work because they're getting the extra money through unemployment, which of course ends in July. And if an employee refuses to come back to work, they can lose their unemployment benefits anyway. So I'm wondering if if you guys are hearing the same things, if you have any advice on what employers can do, because they want to bring people back, they want to be able to use this money, but they can't. And 8 weeks, frankly, is not a whole lot of time, and especially if, depending on how much you take out, you can only use it for payroll and utilities. So if anybody wants to jump in, just go ahead. Thanks. Go ahead, Bob.
Sure. I mean, there's a couple of useful things. The SBA Treasury recognized that rehiring is a little bit problematic if people don't want to come back, and have created an exemption so that to accommodate that. Ultimately, the piece about rehiring is by the end of June. So there's that flexibility, and there's a real problem there that if you're not, if you don't rehire until June, you're not using payroll money during your 8-week period, and that's real, right? But it wasn't well understood early on how to, and by well understood, it wasn't well documented by the SBA how owners could capture their portion of recompense during that period of time. So there's also, so that's potentially a way to backfill some of that if they didn't, because the owners continuing to make draws or get K1 income during the closure. So they can make sure that they capture that when they apply for forgiveness. So it's not a perfect solution, but it's getting closer. The legislative piece, I mean, who knows what's going to happen there.
Yeah. Anybody else or yeah, go ahead, Chris.
So there's a recalculation on the forgiveness piece according to payroll. So if you are operating in a limited capacity, you can't bring back all your payroll. That does recalculate that portion of the 25% of the forgiveness on the loan. So you want to be aware of that and read into that. But like Bob was saying, it's a moving target. There's a lot of talk out there, maybe changing those percentages, maybe bumping that 8-week window. The biggest thing and something that I would recommend is just have a good relationship with your banker. Have a good line. We have a fact sheet that's 5 pages, and it comes out every week. It seems like, like Jennifer was saying earlier, it's just new details emerge all the time, and you want to have that line of communication directly to get that new information.
Yes, go ahead, Mandy.
Hi, Renee. Yeah, just a touch point too on Chris's comment. I think having a great relationship with your bank is really important. I also think advocacy to the community to really read in and understand the legislation that's being put forth on Friday. I had a chance to review some of it yesterday, and to be honest, there's a lot of things in there that I think us bankers would say, oh, that's great. I'm glad they're giving some flexibility with regards to that 8-week period. But there's also a lot of, pulling that rule and switching the rules halfway through that creates somewhat of a challenge for us institutions. And so I think that's what's really important, is to educate our business members to go in and talk to us lenders that are issuing these loans so that they can properly advocate for what the law and the new rules should be, to protect them, but also to provide the support that I know that they greatly need right now with this program. So I think I'll leave it at that, because I know everybody on the panel has had similar conversations with regards to this legislation that's coming up. But I think it is important to call, our members of Congress and the Senate to really discuss what needs to be happening with this bill, in hopes that they're doing what's right for the business community that are going to be using this capital. So.
I agree. Any tips or for applications, anything that you guys have seen that may have been stumbling blocks initially for people as they filled out the application? Anybody?
Hi, Renee, this is Jessica. I've had some hurdles on my end with US Bank. And then that we received actually new guidelines on April 27th. So it definitely changed the supporting document requirements and direction. But there wasn't a lot of communication with that either. So I think that's something that we had to overcome. And again, just reaching out to your banker to be able to provide that direction so you can move forward is something that's very important to our community.
Yeah. Any general concerns that you've heard from community members or your customers as they've come into the bank to talk to you about the applications? And Jessica, if you want, we can start with you on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we rolled out a digital process, so I'm sure everybody's heard that we've had some technical glitches during this process. At this point, they're kind of, they've identified and then they're working through, and most of them are working better now. However, we're of course at the end of the loan program. So unfortunately, it didn't work as well as we had anticipated. However, we were still able to get a lot of funding for our community, and I'm very proud of that. It just took a little bit more patience as we went through the process to navigate through any hurdles to overcome them. And in addition to that, hopefully, I haven't received any guidelines is how the forgiveness piece is going to come in with our bank and what that's going to look like. But I'm hoping that it's, more simplified so we can offer some direction to our clients. So it's easy and really gives them more of a peace of mind to be able to move forward and do business as necessary. Because, they specialize in their, business areas, not doing paperwork with PPP. So again, it's very important that everybody reaches out to their bankers to be able to provide that support and direction.
Jennifer or Bob, do you want to weigh in on any concerns that you've heard from your members?
Well, Jennifer, how about I go first? So I don't want to beat the forgiveness thing into the ground, but the ambiguity around that is a little nerve-wracking for everyone, right? It's like with one hand you're giving them a check, and with the other it's like, maybe you can keep it. So that's a little nerve-wracking. And the forgiveness period happening during the shelter in place is also a real concern for our customers. Other than that, it's, most of them have been really, really grateful for the help, right? Just very appreciative that it was fast, that it was fairly straightforward, and they were able to get a check quickly and keep employees, bring employees back at least part-time, things to that effect. Over to you, Jen.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a majority of the borrowers, this program overall is working well, especially the your service sector that is essential, that has stayed open, and getting them through a very difficult time. But it's definitely the shuttered businesses, that are the ones who continue to have the challenges, continue to ask the questions, and rightfully so. And then just strategizing. And there's definitely some of those, how hindsight, of course, is always 20/20, but definitely some of those who are kind of like, if I would have known what I know now, I would have waited a month to take the loan out. And I think that was definitely one of the things with the guidelines that SBA came out with that was a little disheartening, because originally when the program was being created, we had heard that we were going to have 90 days to fund the loans. And then, of course, that would be predicated on when the borrower wanted the money. And then they came out, all of a sudden, when they rolled it out, they said, oh, you have 5 days. And then they changed it to 10 days. So that was a very short window, in terms of, people had to take the money right away. And I've definitely had a few customers who were just going, well, I've had my reservations about spending it, because running into that challenge of bringing their employees off of unemployment, who, right now with the unemployment paying what it is, they're making more on unemployment, of course. And, so there's just a lot of issues there. And so those are definitely the ones that are the most problematic and have the most concerns. And so, we're 5 weeks into the program now, and, still not being able to provide clear direction is really difficult as a lender, which I'm sure all of you can attest to, because we're used to being able to tell our customers, we kind of know our loans inside and out, and know the facts about what we're doing. And, this is one of those things where we don't. And so that's been the biggest challenge, I would say, overall.
Okay, Mandy.
I don't think she heard you, Renee.
Oh, Mandy, do you want to take that question for concerns from the community?
Oh, sorry. I thought I was really good at lip reading, but I did not see my name on your list. Sorry about that.
Okay.
No, I mean, Jennifer and Bob hit it on the head. I mean, these are the struggles. It's, none of us lenders ever would go into a loan going like, I don't know how you're going to repay it, but here, take it. Right? So it's been a little bit of a challenge on our side as well of navigating an ever-changing rule environment and the potential repayment for folks. I mean, amortizing something over a 2-year period when a business hasn't been open and operating is very scary. And we're saying, trust the SBA, trust the government, trust us. We're going to help get you through this. So I think it's just staying nimble and working with us as we constantly pivot with the ever-changing rules and the communicative piece of it, and ensuring that we are going to get out to our entire business community individually and collectively as institutions the minute that we have the additional guidances that are released to support these businesses. So I think that's the big message that I'd like to get out there.
Great. Kelly Isaacson.
Yes. I think the biggest concern that I'm getting now and hearing a lot of throughout this whole process, of course, and I'm going to reiterate just the forgiveness piece of it and asking questions that it's, I don't have the answers. The SBA has not provided the specifics in regards to, what exactly that's going to look like. So that's the hardest part for me, is relaying that to the customers. Okay, now you have the money. Now we got you the money. Now, what are the parameters for repaying that, and what does that look like? So just waiting on that, and just really wanting to give my customers a black and white answer on how that looks and what that looks like. And I don't, we don't.
Yeah. Christopher.
Goes back to the communication piece. Lack of communication, there's a lot of questions, but if we do our job, keep our customers updated as information comes through the pipeline, that's gonna really give us a better direction. And documentation. Document, make sure if you are spending those bills, make sure where it's coming from. maybe open a new account, manage it specifically through it. There's a lot of QuickBooks stuff out there about how to manage and earmark funds. So just document. It's going to make it easier on all of us in the long run.
Right. Mandy, you had mentioned something about maybe new directions coming out of the SBA. Did I understand that? Or, I mean, anybody can answer that. Are we hoping for more clarification on the loan forgiveness, or is that just a week by week? We're not really sure.
Yeah, we're all hoping. We hold our breath every day we walk into the office that those guidances are going to be sitting in our inbox. But, you know, again, I think what I've been telling our members is, you know, the first round of funding is halfway through, or a little, you know, almost there. The 8 weeks is fast approaching, essentially. And so there's going to have to be some guidance the closer that we come to that period. So, you know, with Jennifer and saying, those folks that are actually getting these loans now, there was this money grab, if you will, to begin with, because the funds were going so fast that people had no options, and we didn't have options to delay funding. The reality is the members that are receiving these funds today are far better off because they have a lot more clarity in the process and time to utilize those funds than those up front. So, but again, I think in the legislative amendments that are going in for the new bill do talk about that 8-week period, provide a little bit more flexibility in the repayment period and potential extensions. And I think that's the piece that every banker on this call would advocate for in the bill. But again, there's some other languages that probably are not so great. But I do hope SBA will, in the next couple of weeks, be able to get that out for everybody.
We have a question in our chat box that if you have an employee quit after you've received your PPP loan, I'm assuming they can rehire. You can hire people to fill that vacancy. You're allowed to hire and bring on new people, correct? I see nodding heads. Okay, good. Okay, awesome. And the understanding right now, as far as the forgiveness ratio, it's 75% of the loan has to be used for payroll and payroll related costs. That's the current ratio at this point?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Great. So looking at how the pandemic has impacted the community in relation to how you guys bank or, you know, work at your banks, do you want to talk to me a little bit about how things have changed just in your offices, and if there's been any other changes to how you do things on your end? Any, I don't know, additional protocols that you've had to follow as a result of the pandemic? Chris, do you want to start?
Sure. So following county guidelines, staying updated on any new release from Dr. Frankovich and Sheriff Hansel, maintaining those parameters. Our doors are still open. We got open lobby 10 to 3, and we have our full frontline staff abiding by the face covering, the social distancing, etc. So we're still servicing customers in the branch. That gives me a priority to my staff to make sure that the staff is maintaining their health, make sure we're taking the precautions to keep them healthy so that we're continue to be in a position to service at the ground level. But there's also been a shift to banking at a distance, you know, using our mobile, using our online banking platforms, or just a good old phone call. You know, call me at the branch. Let's talk about it. So there's been a lot of outreach and a lot of check-ins with our customer base over the phone. And it goes back to that relationship piece, you know, just having that conversation every week, twice every month or something like that. Just keeping communication with our customers.
Right. Yeah, I did the insurance webinar last week, and I think that was also an important takeaway, is have a good relationship with your insurance agent, because things are changing. You know, you reclassify employees and are now doing deliveries versus working in your restaurant. That's an additional exposure. It's important to make sure that, you know, everybody's covered, and same with your banker, because I think the greatest success stories have been from the local banks that have in smaller communities that have great relationships with their clients and their members, and I think that's a really good takeaway. One of the questions related to the payroll costs was payroll taxes. They're included in that 75%, correct? They should continue to track how much they're paying for federal taxes. I think I saw something, but maybe the employer's share isn't covered. Is that just for Social Security, or does anybody know?
Renee, this is Jessica.
Hi, Jessica.
It's my understanding that yes, the payroll taxes are covered, but they are only covered for the employer paid portion.
Okay. Got it. Good. Awesome. So sorry, continuing on with how things have changed at the bank. Mandy, do you want to answer that question next?
Sure. I think all of us are very similar to what Chris was just saying. A lot of it really is coming down to our employees being the essential business that we are, and making sure and maintaining that our staff doesn't get sick, and they're having to wear masks every day, all day long, in environments that are hot and sticky and not comfortable to serve our membership. And we have, you have just emotions. There's a lot of emotions out there with membership, and rightfully so. I mean, you have businesses that are closed. You have members that can't make their payments because they haven't been at work for 6 weeks. So I think just a lot of empathy and support internally that we've given for our staff, and continue to focus on member service in any way that we can to try to eliminate and alleviate some of those stresses and concerns. So. But yeah, it's been a trying time, and it kind of takes you back to old school. At first, the stay-in-place orders, my calendar was completely empty, and I was like, "Whew, this is nice." And then all of a sudden, it gets filled with our Zoom meetings. So I am paying a little bit more attention to making sure that my hair is covering up my long roots from not getting it done, and that I'm wearing my lipstick, because that seems to be what's most important in getting on these calls every day. But no, and in all lightness, it's been challenging times, and I think all of us can attest that we're tired, but we're all in this together, and it's really important. We're providing essential services for our community, and happy to be doing so.
Great. Kelly, do you want to take that question next?
Yeah. So I looked at some numbers for last month in comparison to all the other locations in Humboldt County. I think that we are actually the busiest location in Humboldt County right now, and that's in part the drive-through is a big piece. So we're allowing a lot more transactions that normally we would require customers to come inside, letting them do the drive-through. Our hours have changed. We are 9 to 4, Monday through Friday currently, and it is appointments only in the lobby. We have an online portal. We can make appointments, and mainly the appointments are, for new business accounts, which we've actually been able to acquire quite a few recently just due to the PPP, and wires, notary service, things that can't be done through drive-through. But we've maintained pretty busy. I kept my staff on. Everybody is still getting all of their hours, but yes, wearing the masks. We have the guards up here, and just trying to keep a good attitude throughout it all. And phones definitely ringing quite a bit. It's died down a little bit with the PPP calls, but we're here.
Great. Mr. Judevine.
It has definitely been a time, hasn't it? So we're an essential business, as other bankers have noted, and so we're sort of experiencing the same thing that other essential businesses are. That is, valued employees who are doing homeschooling and have elderly relatives that they're the primary caregiver for. So juggling that has been a challenge, as I'm sure many of the folks participating on the call can relate to in their own business. So and we're navigating that successfully. Our lobby is also appointment only, so we're seeing a lot of our normal business. We're seeing our full normal volume of business in the drive-through because stay-at-home order or not, people are still banking. And in some instances, they're banking more. They've got time to roll all that coin and whatnot. So, and we've gotten some really great feedback about, maybe the bright spot of their day is seeing a smiling, warm teller in the drive-through. So that's a joyful thing. But again, we're looking forward to getting that done. We hadn't planned in 2020 to perfect our drive-through experience to compete with McDonald's. But that's in fact what's happening. And as Chris pointed out, we're keeping track of the rules, making sure that we're masked when appropriate, and that we're using a lot of cleanser to keep those customer contact areas safe and sanitary. So that's primarily how business has changed. We have been really busy, so we're maintaining normal hours as we move through. So it's 9 to 5 Monday through Thursday, 9 to 6 on Friday, and we've got ATMs. The ATM is getting a lot of use. All of the good online tools. We've definitely seen an uptick in online deposits, deposit by mobile, that kind of stuff. So it's nice that all that stuff is in place for people that need it, and a lot of people are using our drive-through and still wanting to see do their transactions in person. So it's all available, and let's just get through this.
Yeah, who would have thought the 1970s drive-through at banks would back in 2020?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Ferndale, so I remember the U.S. Bank branch, before, when it was Bank of Lolita, I think, when I was growing up, and they had a drive-through, and I just loved it as a kid, and it's too bad it's gone because now it would be really useful. But anyway, it looks like we lost Kelly. Her phone died. So we'll have to carry on without Umpqua. Christopher, did I ask you that question already? Did we start with
Jennifer's the only one left.
Okay.
Yeah,
I lost track. Sorry.
That's cool.
Okay.
So I just, of course, the pandemic has absolutely changed the way we operate. All of our locations in Humboldt County are still open. The times of operation have been decreased to 9:30 to 4, and we are only letting in 1 to 2 people at a time in the lobby for teller operations and making banker appointments, just really trying to take as much information over the phone as we possibly can to help expedite the appointments. And of course, taking all the necessary safety precautions, wiping down the teller stations, wearing masks, hand sanitizer. And in addition to that, of course, trying to, really assist our customers with the online mobile options that we are offering. And then we're also moving in the direction of even, more electronic signatures. And we have, products in place to help with, payments and deposits, electronic, and even, credit card processing with all the e-commerce for local businesses as well. So we're really trying to just educate our clients in this new reality that we're experiencing and keep trying to support them in any way we can possible.
So that made me think of something, what you just said, Jessica, about e-commerce, and I know contactless transactions are going to probably be a big thing over the next 6, 12, 18 months, especially for restaurants, maybe. Are your banks looking at I know a lot of you all have merchant services through your respective banks, correct? So are you guys going to be looking at offering that kind of a product for
We
businesses?
are actually, yeah, we've offered the e-commerce, and I can send you more information on that to get out, but we have implemented a lot of discounts and, you know, monthly fees waived for a certain amount of time, just so even if they just wanted to try it out and, you know, learn how to operate, to just really, you know, slowly change how these businesses are operating, because it's, I mean, it's quite a big change for us. And I think we need to try to, I mean, all the businesses need to really think of different ways to be able to still offer their products and services, and then be able to take those payments and deposit electronically as well.
Anyone else have any news on that front?
Sorry, Renee, what?
Oh, I said, does anyone else have any news on that front? Any contactless products or anything of that nature coming out from your banks that you know of?
Well, so we use something called ProSign, similar to DocuSign, that we can use for loans, and we're currently doing much of the new account process via email, via secure email. And so the only real piece then we need to meet them long enough to get the signature card signed. So a lot of the pieces for contactless banking are already in place for us and probably for everybody on the call. It's just a matter of implementing them. I can't speak for the rest of the bankers. It's tough for us because we really shine when people come in and come into our lobby and meet with our staff and meet with us. So it's a different sort of way of thinking about banking to want to push that away, right? And again, I'm looking forward to getting through it.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be nice to just go have lunch and see people again. Yeah, it'll be a good thing. So one of the questions we had, do we know if prepaid utilities or rent, is that eligible for the loan forgiveness, or does it have to be an actual expense during that 8-week period?
I think that's one of the things that we're still waiting to hear from, because I know that's a huge question. It's kind of, is it accrual versus cash basis? So, and that's kind of across the board for everything, whether it's rent, utilities, and your payroll stuff. So that is one of the pieces in the guidance that I think is going to be really important and critical, and hopefully we'll know that sooner than later. But as of right now, we don't know.
Okay. And are there any other products that your banks are offering besides the SBA-backed loans that can help some of the smaller businesses maybe that don't qualify or have issues with having the required documentation? Do you have anything that you want to plug at your bank that can help some of our smaller businesses during this time? Yep, go ahead, Bob.
So Renee, a lot of folks are hesitant to talk about an actual loan when times are tough, right? Because they're sort of in survival mode. I'll tell you the things that we're doing to support our businesses and customers. We handle our overdraft. Our overdrafts in the bank by hand every morning, and the board has directed us to be really careful with those. And we've always had an approach that is, you know, whatever we need to do to support our businesses and be forgiving of mistakes. And during this time, they've asked us to be extra careful and supportive. We also have deferred an awful lot of loan payments. On the commercial side, really anyone that asked, we deferred their payments for 90 days, which puts, you know, their next payment out months down the road where hopefully the shelter in place is over and they've got revenue coming back in to service that debt. And if not, you know, if it continues, we'll just revisit the question. We're seeing a lot of those on the consumer side as well. I'm a commercial lender, so I had dozens of folks take advantage of that. We are a preferred SBA lender, and there are other SBA loans in the 7A program that are designed to help during this period of time. I haven't had a lot of interest in loans. You know, we've continued to do commercial loans here at the bank, although the flow has slowed a little bit, as you would expect, right? But like I said, the folks that are worried about survival haven't been looking at taking on new debt, at least not much. I've had one or two inquiries, and it's definitely not a great time to finance business debt with a credit card. Yeah, back to you, Renee.
Anyone else want to jump in?
I'll jump in now. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mandy.
I was just going to say Tri-Counties Bank is continuing with the existing library of products and services. And so anything that we've offered in the past, we're continuing to offer going forward.
Okay, Mandy.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I would encourage folks once again to reach out to their financial institution to have those direct conversations about what can happen, because everybody is in their own certain circumstance or situation, and every institution that I've spoken with wants to assist their members or customers as best that they can during these times. So I think that's the message to the business community is if you haven't reached out and you have some hardship, please reach out to your institution sooner rather than later.
Jessica, you wanted to chime in?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to supply our website actually has a lot of deferment assistance and funding solutions that we have discounted and or, you know, just low rate loans at this point, including SBA Express. And those are posted on usbank.com. We have a COVID page. So if any business clients want to refer to that page. And then additionally, I can provide a product guide list to you, Renee, to get out to the members. I don't want to go into each and every one, of course, but as everybody else, it's probably just, you know, a slew of deferments and funding solutions that each one of us are offering our customers.
Great. Yeah, and if anyone else wants to send me that information, I'm happy to share with our members as well if you have any literature. Yeah. Oh, Jennifer, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say it might be worth mentioning too. I'm sure a lot of people are aware that a lot of the different cities are also have their own loan programs they've been rolling out. A lot of microloan programs out there, and REDEC as well, Redwood Regional Economic Development Commission out of Eureka. They've got a program of $25,000, really good repayment terms, low interest rate. So there are a lot of additional programs out there to help folks too.
Yes, the city of Fortuna has an emergency loan fund that is underwritten through REDEC. So yeah, that's great. Thank you for mentioning that. There's something else I was thinking of, and I can't remember what it was. Now I remember what it was. Mandy, Co-Central Credit Union has a community fund. Is that open or did that close yesterday? I can't remember. I thought maybe the application deadline was yesterday, but you guys have a community fund. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Yeah,
and it actually did have a close date of yesterday. I imagine it's something the board's going to consider looking at extending depending on the current stay-in-place orders. But yeah, that is an additional option. So feel free to reach out to myself or to Laura, the Fortuna MSC, to inquire about that program. Yeah, thanks.
Great, awesome. And does anybody else, before we finish, does anybody want to share some good news? Anybody have anything that they want to brag on?
Renee, this is Jessica. I wanted to share real quick about, because we've restructured our grant program with US Bank, our Community Possible, and they've restructured it to just basically make smaller grants to be able to serve our communities better. And I'll send you that information to get out, but it it goes over like operating grants to cover organizations' day-to-day ongoing expenses, such as salaries, utilities, office supplies, and then capital grants for fixed or for finance fixed assets. And so I'll of course provide more information on that because there isn't quite a bit, but I did want to let you know that we have restructured our programs to be able to serve during this pandemic.
Anybody else want to throw any good news in? I think Redwood Capital did something really fantastic recently with Food for People. Or was that Rotary? Oh, that was Rotary. Whoa, whoopsie. You're the Rotary president, so it sticks in my head. Do you want to talk about that, Bob?
Well, it's you bet. So my Rotary Club donated $2,500 to Food for People a couple of weeks back. Just they're providing a vital service in the community that there's no one else to do. And we were joined by a number of Eureka clubs, and I think the total given was in excess of 25 grand so far. So, and we also, as my club, as part of that, bought $1,000 worth of Humboldt grass-fed beef and had it prepared over at Springville Meats to donate to the food pantry. So you're seeing a lot of that, and it's joyful from every corner of the community. Folks helping out, in large ways and in small ways. But it seems like everybody that can is certainly in Fortuna. That's one of the things to love about living and working here.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen that outpouring of community support, and it's wonderful, even just with food delivery or supporting our graduating seniors to businesses that are changing and offering things that they never did before, like Humboldt Distillery hand sanitizer and Left in Stitches making masks. It's been really great. Let's see. We did have another question. If someone can't get information from their particular bank, which is none of the panelists, I just want to say it's another bank. Do you have any suggestions on where they can get information? I know the North Coast Small Business Development Center has links to the SBA. And then of course you can go to the SBA.gov website and spend half a day going through all of their documentations. But if someone is not a member of your bank, can they call and get some just general information, or should they maybe contact the SBDC?
They're welcome to call us. The SBDC is a great source of information, and truly we all watch the SBA website like a hawk. SBA and Treasury seem to post stuff at the same time, but that's where it breaks first. It'll land there, a message will go out to lenders and the SBA district offices.
Great. And I know that I, through the chamber, put things into a newsletter, and that gets reposted on our webpage. So if anybody who's watching is not signed up for our newsletter and has missed past issues, you can see at least the last 2 months up on fortunachamber.com. Just go to the newsletter tab and you'll see the old issues and anything that I get either through the SBDC, the SBA, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Treasury. It all gets funneled through that newsletter to keep our members up to date. Christopher, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, outside of the institutions, there's those economic development committees. There's REDEC, which was mentioned earlier, but then also AEDC, the Arcata Economic Development Committee. So both of those are good resources for ground level too, if you're having a hard time getting support from your current institution.
Great, yeah, that's great. Thanks for mentioning AEDC too. Jennifer, you had your hand up. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to mention AEDC as well, that they're participating in the PPP program. So
Yes.
I read Chris's mind.
Yeah, yeah. And they also have their own, they have their own grant program, which is great too. So that's another resource, not only for information, but for funding. Yes, Christopher.
I also want to recognize you as leader of the chamber here in Fortuna. The communication has been great. There's an increase of the newsletters that comes out and the compiling of information to deliver resources directly to the business community. Outside of our lending happening in institutions, but also communications about grants from the state level. The Facebook grant got plugged, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce plugged. So the newsletters come often. There's a lot of good input there. So thank you for the increased communication.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Unfortunately, things move so fast that most of these grants, the second you post them, they run out of money. I know that happened with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce grant. They got 60,000 applications in 2 minutes, I think. And so they had to shut their website down, and people spent hours trying to get on, and they had locked it down. And I know Guy Fieri had raised almost $20 million for a restaurant fund, and they are out of money as well. So it shows you there's a big need, and it's difficult to try and stay timely because, as we've all talked about this morning, it's a moving target constantly. Legislation changes, the situation changes, money runs out, money comes back in. So again, just have that relationship with your banker, reach out, ask those questions. If you don't have a local lender, if you're using one of the more national banks, call AEDC, call REDEC, call North Coast Business Development Center and get that support, or contact your local business improvement districts or chambers. Diana Rios from FBID and I have talk multiple times a day, and she has been helping the city with the Fortuna Small Business Loan Program with REDEC, which is the Redwood Regional Economic Development Commission, I think. Commission? I always forget what the C is, Center or Commission. There are sources of information and people that you can reach out to. So don't be afraid to ask those questions. Any other final thoughts that I'll let you guys leave with, and then we'll end for the day? Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, one thing just to mention is the EIDL program, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, and that's direct through SBA. That had run out of funding and it shut down. And then they reopened it, but they only reopened it specifically for agriculture businesses. So, and where we live in a pretty strong agriculture community. If you guys know of any borrowers out there that are needing funding, that doesn't have a debt forgiveness component to it, but it's a 30-year loan at 3.75%. So it's a really good long-term funding source if needed. And so if you have any of your farmer friends that are still in need of funds, definitely steer them to the SBA website because they can apply directly on there.
Great. That's a great tip. Yeah, I did bring up the EIDL loans today because I know they're SBA backed and you guys don't have any dealings with that directly. So, but thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate that. Bob Judevine, final thoughts.
Hang in there. We're going to get through this.
Great, thank you. Mandy.
No, same thing. Hang in there, and thanks everybody for all you're doing for the community. It is making a difference. Thanks.
Christopher, final thoughts.
Yeah, I'm just glad to be a part of Fortuna in this time. We're using our skill set to be a resource at this time, and that's what we live for, and that's our purpose right now. So just know that pick up the phone, really, and we're happy to do our part.
Great. Okay, and finally, Jessica, final words.
I just wanted to thank each and every one of you. I've learned a lot through this process, and it feels just really good to support our local community. in every way that we can, and really just come together to support Humboldt. And I'm just really proud of that, and it's very passionate about it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks to everybody who is on the webinar. Thanks for watching. And thank you to our panelists. You've been great. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this and throw out some education for folks. So thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see each other in person soon, I hope. So enjoy the rest of your week. And thank you, everybody. Have a good day.